So there's a quote from the book In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts by Gabor Mate that I really love, where he says that children swim within the ocean of their parents' unconscious mind. And what this really means is that when we're young children, when we're born, even before we're born, apparently, we start to pick up on the emotional atmosphere, the psychological atmosphere of what we're surrounded by. It's not just what we see with our eyes and what we hear with our ears that influences how we make sense of reality as children, but it's very much just the mood and the atmosphere. This is something that can often go overlooked. Although we've kind of learned to pay better attention to really severe cases of trauma in environments, which has been an amazing step forward for humanity, what we often fail to see is that a lot of the trauma responses we can have, a lot of the mental health conditions that we can have, don't necessarily stem from dense forms of trauma that would occur, like physical abuse, for example. They actually occur from a slow erosion in the atmosphere, a sense of decay that goes on in the family environment. For example, a mother who suffers from chronic mental health issues, even though she may be very loving and may care a lot about her children and never actually outwardly abuse them, that atmosphere that's going on inside of her is affecting the child's inner milieu. And then as the child gets older, there's that strong sense of they're carrying something, or maybe they're resisting something. Like we know because we love and we're connected to our mom, and we can feel that inside of her, and it can still leave a lasting impact on us. Or what about a father who is filled with rage inside and a substance addict, maybe even a secret substance addict? Maybe he drinks a little bit, but you know he's really drinking a lot more than he gives off. And it's not just about, again, what we can see and what we can hear. Sometimes parents almost try to bar their kids off from the things that are really difficult emotionally in their lives. And they think that they're sheltering them. But actually, a lot of the time, the children still know. They might not be able to consciously process it, but again, they're swimming within their parents' unconscious mind. So what starts to happen is that all these experiences that we're expunging as children, the dense ones and the subtle ones alike, start to coagulate together, and then we have a mental map of reality. And on a real map, we would see streets, road, avenues, landmarks, where in a mental map, we see potential. The roads are made up of potential. And just like a real map, a mental map can have all these cul-de-sacs. We can get caught in certain lanes of potential. Like, for example, we might be stuck in our relationship situation thinking, oh, I don't even deserve a good quality partner, whether we're conscious of that or not. We tend to attract that thing in our life because deep down we don't really feel like we deserve to have a quality relationship with another human being, a loving relationship where we can truly express ourselves. And that might make sense if you never saw that when you were growing up. Maybe your parents' relationship was very dysfunctional, and you can see how this starts to contextualize your mental map inside. Or maybe you could say the same thing with your money situation. Maybe you just don't really feel like you're worth having a good career, or you're not good enough. You don't have enough value to offer. No one would want you in their business. But then maybe you remember your parents struggling with money for years, scrapping over it. Or maybe they acted like it wasn't a problem, but deep down you really knew that it was. All of these things alike, you can see how these early experiences, as we're picking up and expunging all this information and this data, you can see how it starts to create our mental map and how we can get lost in these cul-de-sacs. But what I want to tell you, and I think what's really important to know about all this, because everyone's healing journey is going to be unique and different. Everyone's going to have to do their own different things to take step forwards in their life and to actually recognize this stuff for themselves individually. We're all going to have to do that. But what I really want you to be able to see just for right now is that if you're feeling limited in something, if you are stuck in a relationship situation, if you are stuck in some negative thought cycle, if you are stuck in some addiction that you feel like you just can't quit, even if it's been a decade, I want you to know that The reason that you think like that, I mean, you thinking like that is only a part of your current map. And people have been in the same, if not worse, positions and managed to make it through, and you can too. You have enough inside of you to work through these difficult situations. But again, we can only really imagine within the confines of our mental map. So if you imagine only so much as possible, that just indicates that you have a certain cul-de-sac in your map there. But there is actually more that's possible for you. If you really want something and you really want to move towards something, you have every right to do that, and you can do that. And maybe you even know that deep down, but right now your thoughts are just kind of limiting you in that sense. And I'm not trying to speak from a position of having that all figured out. I'm speaking from the position of being in a far more limited position than I ever was. Far more limited position than I am now, rather. But after a lot of inner work and the last few years of therapy, I can see the forest for the trees a lot more, and I've been able to move further, and you can too. So recognize that that mental map that you have is just, it's made up of all those experiences that you experienced earlier on in life. And it's also, I mean, that's the nurture, but there's also the nature component. There's your particular cognitive stack, your personality as it is. That's also obviously influencing your map. Like, it's not just the information, but it's also how you process the information and how you experience that information. I mean, there are a lot of sides to this, but the general point is, don't get too caught in the fact that you're so limited by things. This can be rewritten. You can discover new locations on your mental map, and you can traverse completely new terrains. There are completely different roads, and there's amazing potential moving forward. And I want you to know that. This is this is really important to understand, because when we're caught in a cul-de-sac like that, it just feels like it's never going to end. But it can. Just understand that there's a reason that you've come to see it the way you have, and there's definitely a way to see it differently if we're willing to investigate ourselves enough.